Today, just looking through the Samyutta mentioning, and looking at the one of my favorite chapter, the Bojjhaṅgā Samyutta, which is the whole chapter on the 7 factors of enlightenment. And the reason this came up because it's one of those chapters I like to reread over and over again, and it's also I think it's timely, obviously, in the era of coronavirus, has to do with sickness, and as most of you, some of you may know, the Bojjhaṅgā is a very famous sutta, chanting that is especially for traditional Buddhists. As monks, we were told when you go see a sick person, one of the prittas, the blessings to chant is the Bojjhaṅgā, because legend has it, and you read in the Bojjhaṅgā Samyutta, and in the time of the Buddha, some of his famous disciples, I think it was Mahamoggallana, Sariputta, I think another one of the close disciples were sick, and the Buddha would send Ananda to go there, and he would chant the Bojjhaṅgā Samyutta, Bojjhaṅgā Paritta, and they will become well again. So it's quite famous for that. And but I think other than just the faith aspect of it, there's also a lot of Dhamma in the teaching of the factors of enlightenment for practitioners. And it's like I said, it's the Bojjhaṅgā Samyutta. It's the factor to awakening. Obviously, we're all here practicing, and hopefully the purpose of our practice is to awaken, to lessen our suffering, but to attain the ultimate happiness. And the factors of enlightenment is something that I think it's one of the main teachings to help us towards that goal. And the thing that brought to mind was most of you were discussing a couple of times in the morning. Obviously, the Buddhist path is very varied and has lots of perspectives and lots of ways we can approach lessening of suffering, increasing sense of happiness, a way towards wholesome states and away from unwholesome states. And there are things that the Buddha talked about that sounds a bit magical, fantastical. Devas and unseen beings and nagas and different realms that we cannot experience firsthand. So sometimes it has kind of mystical of this worldly kind of thing that's kind of stretch your faith if you're not from a Buddhist background. And we can go on about is there an afterlife? Is there these other beings or not? And it's neither here or there. If you have faith, you believe that there is, and you don't have faith, you just explain it by scientific terms. But just to kind of a good simile I've heard once was that the teachings on the different realms. It's also similar like you see in modern physics. Obviously there's the day-to-day truth that you see. There's such a floor here. There's the sun rises. Earth is round. There are laws of gravity that we can experience. We know for ourselves that we can do tests. We can see that every one of us can do the same test and can see the same results. But also there's things that's beyond the human eyes can pick up. Wavelengths, sounds, human ears can pick up. Doesn't mean they're not there. There are instruments that can measure them. They're also there. So and likewise in the realms of the spiritual realms, there are things that just because we can't experience firsthand doesn't mean they don't exist. But in any case, there's still something that we just leave at the side. The main teaching of the Buddha was the Dhamma is actually very logical. And it's something not to believe in, something that for each and every one of us to know for ourselves. And what strikes me when I was reading this chapter was, one of the main teaching the Buddha gave during the Bojjhaṅgā is to teach on nutriment So, as you know, Buddhism, the heart of Buddhism, is about cause and effect. Sure, we all want to be happy, want to be free from suffering. But as many the Ajahns, the Buddha reminds us over and over again, wanting is only part of the equation. We have to do things, establish the causes for the happiness, establish the causes for the end of suffering. For that to happen, it doesn't happen by itself, it's not by chance. Because reading this morning from Ajahn Chah is about watering your plant. There's two trees, the wholesome and the unwholesome, you can say, wholesome states of mind. You water one, fertilize one, take care of one, you don't look after the other. There's no question which one survives, which one doesn't. So regarding the teaching of the Bojjhaṅgās, the factors of awakening, they also exist on nutriments. Buddha says, just as the body exists through food, so are the factors of awakening. But actually it's also the factors, everything exists based on causes and condition. The 5 hindrances, Buddha also reminds us, also exist based on nutriments. So first, what are the first 7 factors of awakening? Is sati, mindfulness. Second is Dhamma vichaya, is Dhamma reflection. Third is virya, energy. Fourth is pasadi. Piti, thank you. Fourth is piti. 5 is pasadi, which is piti is rapture. Pasadi is calmness of the body. And the 6 is samadhi, is obviously stillness, concentration, stillness. And the 7th is equanimity. And these things, when developed, like we said, leads towards enlightenment, leads towards the relinquishing of attachment, leads towards the ending of all suffering. But it's something that we have to establish. It's something that doesn't arise naturally in the mind. And they're also the counter, the antidote to the 5 hindrances that arises in the mind from time to time. And the Bojjhaṅgā is, like I said, it's different qualities. Some people might know, sometimes the Buddha described it as a progression in the mind. First, sati, you have mindfulness, you have care and attention. So when you have mindfulness, you can remember things. And one thing that the Buddha directs us towards that is also a reflection of Dhamma. So you have mindfulness, you hear the teaching, you read it, you look at the video, and you remember it, and you reflect on it. Reflect on the different teachings, the Dhamma Vichaya. When you reflect on the Dhamma, energy arises. You have faith. So energy arises, you have rapture. Rapture, once piti, you have rapture, then you have pasadi. Mind is happy, the body is relaxed. And because the mind is happy and the body is relaxed, samadhi happens. And there's a point that I want to linger on. So many of us approach samadhi as a technique. I watch my breath. Every single waking moment, I keep going, butto, butto, butto. I have samadhi. I want to bang away at the breath. I have samadhi. It's good to reflect. The samadhi, the condition, the causes of samadhi, the things that goes before samadhi, it's not willpower. It's not how many hours you put in, although that might be helpful. But it is piti and samadhi and pasadi. So it's rapture and happiness. Samadhi comes from happiness. It's not something that you will yourself toward. Not something. It's not a shutting away of the world. It comes from happiness and stillness in the mind. And then samadhi happens. And when the samadhi happens, stillness, concentration, then equanimity happens. So that one, sometimes the one is a causal reaction of the other. Equanimity doesn't rise from reaching our teeth in the earth. This person is really annoying me, but I'm going to be equanimous. Equanimous. I'm practitioner equanimous. That's not how equanimity, true equanimity happens. You can restrain unwholesome, obviously, actions of body, speech. But true equanimity comes from having a still mind. It doesn't come from willpower. So much of the practice, especially in a certain context, is that we're always doing things. We're always doing a meditation. We're doing equanimity. But what the Buddha taught is that these things arise as a result of the causes. Right? So you want to be equanimous, you have to develop your samadhi. You want to develop your samadhi, you develop the causes for piti and pasadi. Piti and pasadi comes from having energy, comes from reflecting on the teaching of the Buddha, and comes from having mindfulness. So those are the causes and conditions for these factors of awakening to arise. They don't arise because you're doing it. You don't do samadhi. You don't do equanimity. Those happens. Okay, so it's a good point to remember, because so much of our practice is, getting there, me, my doing. The thing, and that comes from obviously a lot of delusion, a sense of self. But true practice happens when we're starting to see things clearly. When you see things clearly, understanding happens. Understanding, true wisdom happens. The defilements, the obstacles fall away by themselves. We're not banishing things. We get into argument with somebody, I'm going to let go, I'm not going to talk to this person, I'm letting go. I think there's a slight ill will behind that. True letting go happens when we can embrace and accept. And we're at peace. So as practitioner, one of the main things to progress on the path is honesty and acceptance in the present situation. If there's greed in the mind, accept that at the moment I'm having greed, and greed feels like this in the body, feels like that in the mind. At the moment, I'm feeling irritated. Sure, obviously the encouragement is not to blame. I'm irritated because that person is irritating me by doing really irritating things. Obviously, that is the way of the world. As practitioner, we realize that might appear to be the case, but that's not it. We turn inward and say, well, why is irritation? Irritation feels like this in my body. We don't start to think about why the situation irritates you. We say, okay, irritation just feels like this. And what can I learn from this? Instead of attributing something external that is causing your unhappiness. We're trying to investigate. We understand. Once that happens, we're free. True wisdom happens, then irritation goes away. But until then, they will arise from time to time. That's just the nature of the mind, the nature of the worldly conditions. There's happiness and there's suffering, arising from time to time. There's peace and there's confusion. There's praise and blame, gains and loss. But hopefully we're not being swayed by too much. Hopefully we're keeping our mind centered. And a lot of time I encourage people, it doesn't be complicated practice. So much practice is just staying in the body, being with the body, and relaxing, soothing any type of tense areas you have in the body. A lot of times it's just, when you're greed, the body tightens up. Irritation, the body tightens up. So just, where am I? Where's my body? It doesn't be complicated. We think about this, I'm going to have to solve this problem, so that means like, where's my body? And stay present, stay grounded in the body. You'll find that so much of the confusion, the suffering evaporates. So much of our suffering is holding to the past, or projected to the future, or terrible things may or might not happen. But when the body, relaxing, soothing the body, you'll find that peace starts to arise. Because we're not contributing to the causes of confusion by thinking about it more, by worrying about it, by proliferating on it. We're staying present, staying grounded. And that is the kind of a segue. But the other way to work with the 7 factors of awakening is to divide them into energetic factors and calming factors. And then sati is the mindfulness, the awareness, the present clarity to understand which factors you need. In the morning, you're feeling a bit sleepy, then we develop the energetic factors, which is energy, rousing things, chanting quietly in your head, reflect on the Dhamma, Dhamma Vichaya, reflect on the Dhamma, wakes up the mind, and rapture, bring up things that brings up happiness in the mind. So those things that wakes you up, that energize the mind in the morning. You're feeling sleepy. But then maybe in the evening, doing work in the kitchen, involved in some project, mind gets stirred up. So you want to give focus, give attention to calming factors. And those are samadhi, obviously, passaddhi, tranquilizing the body, and equanimity, being equanimous. Things that leads towards calming. And I just like to remind people over and over again, remember, it's not about the training of the mind. It's not about pointing the mind, the direction of the mind. What you're interested in is where the mind goes. And you make your world. So we want to point the mind towards wholesome states. The mind is sleepy, you want to balance that a little bit towards energetic factors. The mind is thinking a lot, wants to point the mind towards calming things that calms, towards emptiness, towards the moment awareness. So much things disappear, so much complication melts away in the present moment. It's just the body, just this room, these things happening. So those are the different ways that we can use the 7 factors of awakening to kind of energize our practice, to lead us to increasing sense of calm and clarity. And these factors become stronger and stronger as we progress on the path of practice, as we mature in the practice. But with anything, the Buddha also reminds us, especially in the beginning of the chapter, the Samyutta, is these 7 factors of enlightenment. Also, the foundation for them is sila, sense restraint. To empower the mind, we have to live a life that is blameless, that is harmless, that is virtuous. That's obviously something we're all established in doing. And the other thing is to exercise a sense of sense restraint, of not allowing the mind to go out too much. So like I said, so much of these factors, so much of the teaching of the Dhamma is always about cause and condition. It's not about doing it. We read about it and we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to, develop these things and get in there. But it's just noticing what factors I need to bring into being to allow these wholesome states to blossom, to come into being. So it's not such a hyperactive thing that we're doing, but it's just a gentle awareness in the present moment. Being with whatever mental states are arising. How am I feeling? Feeling happy, feeling disturbed, feeling irritated? And how can I incline the mind towards more wholesome states? How can I nudge it really? It's not like a gritting your teeth or clenching your palm and pushing the mind towards anyway. It's more of a gentle nudge. A lot of times it's just opening up and investigating. So much of our suffering is involved around a sense of self. How dare she say that to me, do that? How dare he do this and that, the other stuff, whatever. Well, this is really annoying, this disease. I've got travel plans, I'm going to visit things, and now I can't go anywhere. It's so annoying. But if we first just open ourselves up to the suffering and investigate it, instead of my suffering, so just there is suffering, there's irritation, and why? And how can I learn from this? So I would say, unless you're fully enlightened, you're going to have a sense of self. But we're not allowing that to consume us. We're just trying to investigate the situation. Investigate why is there suffering? Why is there irritation? Why is there discontent in the mind? Why is there restlessness? What is the cause, the condition for the restlessness? Everything arises from a nutriment. Everything arises from a cause. So instead of making a self out of this, we're investigating. Okay, there's restlessness in my mind. Instead of saying, oh, I'm just a bad meditator. I can't meditate. My mind's crazy all over the place. And when am I going to be able to meditate? And, it's just not fair. I've been doing this for 20 years. And these other people just come and they sit so still. And my mind's all over the place. And I'm such a crazy lunatic. Blah, 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 blah. It's just, underneath all that, it's a me and mine. We go beyond it. Okay, the mind is crazy at the moment. What is the cause for this craziness in the mind at the moment? Understanding, obviously, that it changes. It's not always crazy. It's not always irritated. It can be quite content, quite happy, quite full of metta at times. But at the moment, what is the cause for this? It's just like I'm feeling, there is feeling of irritation. What is this all about? Where is it in the body at the moment? How is this irritation expressing itself in the body? I'm a great believer there is obviously a strong connection between body and mind. And that whatever we feel in our mind, in our heart, has a physical counterpart to that. Part of the job, our job is to investigate that. And trying to soothe, relax that body part. You'll find, I said over and over again, once you focus on the body, soothe and relax whatever tension you have in the body, I guarantee you whatever issues you have in the mind will also melt away. Because you're doing two things. Staying present, and you're not feeding the irritation by thinking about it more and more. You're focusing the body, relaxing the body. It's not tense. And that will feed back into the mind, be more calm and clear. So the 7 factors of awakening are mindfulness, reflection on the Dhamma, energy, of rapture, passaddhi, samadhi, and upekkha. It's something that is a wholesome, they lead away from suffering, they lead to happiness. It's something each and every one of us can develop. And also it's a great teaching on conditionality of the Dhamma. Everything arises through a cause. Want to be happy? We establish the causes for that happiness. To be free from suffering, we establish the causes to be free from suffering. Not through wishing, not through wanting, but establishing the causes. So may we develop these 7 factors of awakening for our welfare and happiness, for our health, benefit, but also the welfare and happiness of all the people around us. And leave it for reflection tonight.
Antamayang Dhammakatha Sadhu Karang Kathamase Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu